to deep left field. Big fly for Mike Trout, 1-0 Halos.
Ground ball to second base, Rengifo falls down, picks it up, fires the first. The Angels have no hit. The Seattle Mariners.
That is drilled out to left field. The Angels are going to have a 1-0 lead. Anthony Rendon with a big fly, his third.
Hey guys, I'm Alex Curry.
This is Joe Adell here with the Los Angeles Angels.
Brendan Marsh.
This is Chris Rodriguez.
And you're listening to the All Angels Podcast.
And what is going on? Welcome to another edition of the All Angels Podcast. I am Daniel Garcia. We just got done watching the doubleheader today against Minnesota, but we also have to go over the whole week, starting with Cleveland coming into town on Monday. A little bit of mixed, stop me when this sounds familiar, a little bit of a mixed performances from a lot of the Angels players, and it just kind of seems right now what we're going to get. Obviously, there's huge news with Mike Trout's injury, and we'll get to that a little bit later, but we're going to review the games real quick. We'll get to any of the questions you guys want to leave in the comments, and we will also talk about that Mike Trout injury that is, and where I feel this might be put the Angels going forward. Before we start, real quick shout out to, you've heard me talk about him a couple of times, Sunday League, the podcast. Got to meet up with DH. He was on here a couple of weeks ago to review the Mariners series. Got to meet him out at Inland Empire 66ers. So I just want to give a shout out to those guys. Again, check out that podcast, Sunday League, the podcast. Really great, funny podcast, baseball podcast. So it's not team specific, but if you like just general baseball news and kind of a bunch of friends talking about it, you know, kind of in a bar or at a buddy's house, and not so professional, but just kind of BSing and stuff like that. It's a really great podcast. So check it out, Sunday League, the podcast. So let's move forward. Obviously, Monday, like I said, Indians come into town. Indians, we kind of talked about a little bit. When they are on is when their pitching will be on, and when their pitching carries them, they're going to be really hard to beat. So with that in mind, you kind of had to know that the Angels were going to have to put up points and pitch well too. This is the same Cleveland team that almost got no hit by Seattle, or not by Seattle, but they almost no hit Seattle, but they also got no hit themselves. So this team is very up and down. So Monday we start, Patrick Sandoval gets his first start of the season. Obviously, we have seen him this year out of the bullpen, but because of some of the injuries and they pushed Ohtani back till Wednesday, Patrick Sandoval gets this start on Monday. And kind of, you know, a little mixed. You know, he gave up a couple big hits, gave up a couple runs, but after the first inning, Angels are down 1, but Anthony Rendon comes up with this fielder's choice.
Again, the 3-2, and this is grounded to the shortstop. It'll score a run, only one chance for an out, first base. So Rendon is retired. So not the sexiest play, if you will, again, a fielder's choice, but able to get that run in. And I think something that the Angels have been lacking a lot this year has been that like productive out type of RBI, whether it be a sac fly or whether it's, you know, putting the ball in play and letting them kind of score that way. So you got a fielder's choice. It is tied 1-1 after the first inning. And this is when it happened where Mike Trout gets on base. I'm not sure if it happened when he got on base, when he made the hit and was running the bases because he ends up at second base, or when Jared Walsh comes up and hits a pop fly. So obviously Trout starts his run, and it just seemed like at that point something popped. And he even said it in the press conference later that night that he felt something pop. And you knew it was bad. And if you watch sports in general, if you watch especially like NFL, high school football, any kind of football, when you see a guy not make physical contact with anybody but come up limping, you know it's bad. You know, those non-contact injuries always seem to be the worst, and that's exactly what this was. He didn't run into anybody. I mean, we saw him literally run into Taylor Ward about a week ago and came out of that untouched, unscathed. This time, just something as simple as pushing off to go to third seems to really have sidelined Trout for quite a while. And again, that's a strained calf. He's out 6 to 8 weeks as of right now. We'll see how that plays. We'll get into, you know, who we think is going to fill in and all that stuff a little bit later. But yeah, very first inning,
Trout's out. Juan Lagares, who you would think now is going to be the main guy, comes in for him. But I guess, Juan Lagares is a professional, and he comes up later in the game and is able to get that lead a little bit bigger.
Here's the pitch. He drills that one into left field. The left fielder got all twisted around, and it's over the head of Rosario. One run will score. Another is being waved home. And also coming in is Iglesias all the way from first. And Lagares delivers. The Angels have the lead. It's 3-1.
So again, Lagares comes up clutch, not starting this game. So in his head, he's, done for the day, or not done for the day, but he's not expecting to come in, especially not that early in after the first inning. But he gets up in the second inning, able to get a double. The Angels are now up 3-1. Ohtani comes up with 2 on, and he does this.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Shohei Ohtani! What can't he do?
Wow, that one well over 400 feet. Ohtani's 13th home run of the season.
So if you're looking at offensive production, is it going to suck not having Trout in the lineup? Absolutely. Will it affect this lineup? Absolutely. I guess a positive thing about it is that Ohtani's still there, and Ohtani is performing like an MVP. So will it hurt? Absolutely. I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. Missing Trout in this lineup is going to hurt. Defensively, I kind of feel that might hurt a little bit more. And you kind of see it during these games where now you have Jose Rojas and you have, Taylor Ward's already kind of been out there, but now you're getting these other guys that aren't full-time outfielders. And now you're going to have to kind of really hope that that defense doesn't suffer. A defense that's already been struggling all year long. But if you're able to get huge home runs from Ohtani, you'll take them, and that obviously makes it a lot better. But after that Ohtani home run, it is now 6-1. And like I mentioned, offensively, the Indians kind of struggle. They ended up making it, a little bit closer. It's 6-3 in the bottom of the 7th when Jared Walsh, another guy where he can really pick up the slack. And if he does, this team really won't miss too much of a beat. But he comes up and does this.
He belts it. There's the corner you were talking about. Let's watch them run together. They'll stop Rendon. Rojas scores easily.
So again, Walsh, another one of these key guys where if he is the guy that can help kind of fill in while Trout's gone, that obviously helps this lineup tremendously. Kind of mentioned before, Patrick Sandoval gets his first start, goes 4 innings, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, and 2 Ks. So obviously the length wasn't what you wanted, but still productive, still had a really good outing considering his first start of the year. And obviously, with everything that's been happening this year, the bullpen has been obviously the biggest question mark for the Angels so far. The good bullpen showed up in this game. They went 5 innings, 5 hits, only 2 earned runs. Angels end up winning this game 7-4. A good victory against, a team that is struggling but can put things together. And like I mentioned, when they are pitching well, this bullpen is good, and this, starting rotation is good. And we saw that a little bit during this series. But for them to jump out early, and again, most of this, if not all of this, was with Trout not playing at all. So it shows that, look, they scored 7 runs against a good pitching off defensive team. Now, same thing that has been, hurting this offense is this consistently. They need to do this more than just like once a week or twice a week. This needs to be a performance that can carry this team, weeks at a time. Because right now, granted, it's still in May. We're in May 20th as we record this. There's still a lot of season coming up, and you don't want to necessarily throw in the towel right away. But, the more and more you get back, the more and more you're digging yourself a hole that the Angels, I don't know, have the team to dig themselves out of it. Kind of coming into the season, we kind of thought that, if they're close, if they're hanging around their 4 or 5, games at the All-Star break, they can make a big splash in the trade market and, make a run. But you have to get to that point first. And it just looks like with some of the inconsistencies, not only bullpen, but starting rotation, lineup, that seems kind of a kind of hard for them right now. So there's something they really have to look out for, because you can put up 7 runs against a good pitching offense, but then you struggle the next couple days putting runs on the board, and that's just something that's has been happening with the Angels. And if they're serious about making a run, they have to be in contention around the All-Star break and around trade deadline to make a move, or else you might see them sell a couple guys. And then that's something we'll talk about obviously down the road, but it's still a lot up in the air, but it's definitely not trending in the right direction as we talk right now. So we go to Tuesday. Again, the Indians, Andrew Heaney on the mound, actually had like 2 really good starts before this. And so when I talk about inconsistencies, obviously all the pitchers kind of fall into that category, whether it be Bundy, whether it be Heaney, whether it be Quintana. Each one of these pitchers in the rotation at one point or another have shown up and said, okay, wow, this guy can pitch. This guy is doing a good job. Maybe this is the turning point. Every guy in the rotation has done that, had to start like that. And again, same thing with Heaney. 2 great starts. You're hoping for a third start against an offensively challenged team. Well, that's not exactly what happened. Andrew Heaney struggles right off the bat, giving up 5 runs, 4 of them earned, but only 3 innings pitched. And for a bullpen that we are constantly going to be hearing is pitching way more than they need to, that is not a great line. It just seems like these pitchers, and again, I'm not just talking about Andrew, I'm talking about Canning today, Sunday, Ohtani. It's like that first inning always seems to be the hardest for these guys. If these guys are able to settle in the first inning, I don't know if their pre-workout kicks in a little too soon or what, but it's like you get through that first inning, you're all right. It's just that first inning where a lot of these guys seem to struggle, and Andrew is not any different than those guys. Again, like I mentioned, when he leaves, the Angels are down 5-1. The only run that was scored between that time was obviously an Ohtani home run. This guy is absolutely killing it, and he's been kind of the lifesaver for this team. Ohtani has, and we'll see a little bit later, maybe that's wearing him down a little bit. But Jaime Barrera comes in after Heaney, does actually a really good job going 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. So he's able to keep it close, able to, minimize the damage. I know that's a phrase a lot of people use, but that's exactly what happened. He minimized the damage over 4 innings. And in the bottom of the 4th, Upton comes up with a 3-run home run. Now you're looking at it 4-5. Now you're looking at it, okay, now we worked our way back. Now here's that offense. Again, remember, this is all without Trout. So it just shows that offensively, if you can get guys to step up, the Trout absence will hurt, but not to that degree where I think a lot of people are, when they first heard the diagnosis, are freaking out. So again, Upton comes up, 3-run home run. It's now 4-5. You're back in this game. And now in the bottom of the 7th, Jose Iglesias, since coming back from that IL stint, has seemed to really kind of turn the corner a little bit offensively. Defensively, still kind of, I don't know. We'll see what happens with that. But offensively, he seems to be kind of turning the corner a little bit. Hits a home run. It is now tied 5-5. And kind of like what I mentioned before with the good bullpen, I guess this is kind of the bad bullpen, because that 5-5 tie wouldn't last that long, as Claudio comes in for Barrera in the 8th inning, and with 2 out, gives up a solo shot, which makes it 6-5. And it just also seems with these 2 out, 2 strikes kind of pitches, I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's like that, but it just seems like the Angels find themselves in all the trouble they find themselves are always with 2 strikes or with 2 outs or with both 2 outs, 2 strikes. And yet Claudio in this one gives up a home run. 6-5 is the final score for the Indians. So now the Angels have split the series so far. Now they're going to look for the series win on Wednesday. And with Shohei on the mound, batting second, a lot of hype was in this game. You're starting to hear, as an Angel fan myself, I like seeing it on Twitter. I like seeing it on, MLB, Facebook or Instagram, that one of the Angels players is getting out there and doing some crazy things. I'm not necessarily sure if the whole world loves it, but I do. I think it's great. But like I mentioned, the huge hype around Ohtani being on the mound and batting second in the lineup. A weird situation happened in this game, though, With Ohtani pitching, obviously, a lot of his pitches, especially his fastball, can get up to, 6, 7, 96, 97 miles per hour. But for whatever reason in this game, his velo was down probably about 5 to 7 miles per hour on all his pitches. And it was noticeable right off the bat. I think he only hit 95 in his outing twice. And as I was watching this, it was concerning to me, but I kind of looked at it like, since it happened right away, at no point did a trainer come out and look at him and ask him, was he okay? They kept on putting him out there. And in a way, he pitched really well. It almost felt like this time he pitched instead of just throwing hard and depending on that. This time it kind of felt like he was pitching like a pitcher and control and hitting the corners and mixing his pitches up really well to get swings and misses. It wasn't just here's my fastball, I'm gonna blow it by you. So in that way, it felt okay, but still, when you see those numbers, and you see him throw a fastball at like 93, 94, knowing what he can do, it was kind of startling. But he was able to get through 5 innings, and like I mentioned, his fastball never reached over 95, and I think it only hit 95 twice. So that was kind of weird. He ends up giving up an RBI double in the first after soft contact gets a guy on base. It just seems like a lot of his pitches, when they are put in play, is soft contact and just really hard plays to make. But this double was wrapped down the line. So now they're up 1. The Indians are up 1-0. Angels would tie it with a double from Jose Iglesias, again, a guy that seems to be turning it around a little bit at the plate. You tie it at 1-1. Then the fourth, Jared Walsh hits a home run. Again, another guy that if he steps up and continues on the streak that he's been going, he can definitely help this Angels offense produce runs in the absence of Mike Trout. So now they're up 2-1 in the third. And in the seventh, Ohtani gives up a home run that ties the game 2-2. Ohtani wouldn't get out of the fifth as he goes 4 2/3, gives up 5 hits, 2 earned runs, again, 2 walks. So coming into the last 2 starts, obviously the walks have been the biggest issue, but gives up 2 walks this time, 5 strikeouts. And here's a little bit of interesting. You've seen it before. With Ohtani due up 4th in the next half inning, Joe Madden goes with, okay, we're going to bring another pitcher in. We're going to put Ohtani in right, and hopefully he can come up the next inning. Well, to get out of that situation, Ohtani does not come up the next inning. It was 3 up, 3 down. So literally he was on deck when they get that third out. So the question became, what do you do? Do you keep him out there and hope they don't hit a ball to him, or he's put in a situation where he's going to have to make a great play or something like that? Because at this point, you had, I believe, Rojas in left, Upton in center field, which he hadn't played in years, and then you had Ohtani in right. And you saw Upton talk to Ohtani when he did come back out there about where to play and how he was kind of looking at him like, hey, I'll tell you where to go. So again, with Trout missing in action offensively, I think there'll be ways to kind of not replace him, because you can never replace Trout, but to have 2 or 3 guys equal the production Trout would have and be okay. The defensive part is what really scares me, is having defensive guys out there that aren't necessarily used to playing in the outfield. And so you kind of saw it with Ohtani in right field for a full half inning. Luckily, saw no action in his inning and a third in the outfield. But then he comes up that next inning to lead off. And again, Angels are down 3-2. So with Ohtani's streak of home runs and just extra base hits in general, you would think, okay, Ohtani, here we go. Get on base, hit a double, hit a home run, tie the game up, and they can go from there. Oddly, and I don't know, I didn't read anything, I didn't see anything. He comes up, and obviously they play the shift with him being a left-handed hitter. He lays down a bunt, and he runs out the bunt, so he gets on first. Okay, so there's a guy on base, but I don't know if it was Ohtani's call to do the bunt, or if that was from the dugout. But I did not understand that at all, because I feel like I said, yeah, he's on base, which is great, but you also are facing a really good pitching rotation and bullpen to a fact where, great, now he's on first. Now you have to kind of hope that you get at least 1 or 2 more hits in that inning to work him around. Much would have rather see him swing the bat because you never know. He has that power. He has that ability to tie the game with one swing of the bat, and he didn't do it. Ends up trying to steal second, gets thrown out. So now that definitely doesn't look great. The fact that you bunt on the first base, get caught stealing. So now, if you bunt on first and you steal second and you're standing on second for Rendon or Upton or whoever else is behind him, that looks like a double. Okay, cool. It just seemed like there was a lot of things that had to go right for that to work out. You had to get the bunt down. You had to steal second. You had to hope he gets thrown out at second. All that, for me, felt like could have been avoided if you just let him swing the bat. And I think that kind of adds on to, again, I don't know if that was Ohtani's call or Madden's call, but if it was Madden's call, I think that just shows a lot more questionable, calls by Madden. I definitely feel there's been a lot of questionable calls by Madden. Some of them work out, some of them don't, but it just seems like I think he's overthinking things way too much, and that's exactly how this game would end. This game will end in a 3-2 loss to the Angels. Again, this Indians team is a really good pitching team, and for them to take the bat out of their best offensive player did not make sense to me. So they end up losing the series to the Indians. They end up dropping 2 or 3 to the Indians after winning the first series. It always seems like they always get, when they were in Houston, they won the first game, but lost the next 2. And this one, they won the first game, lost the next 2. It just, this team isn't consistent enough right now to put streaks together. And that's exactly what they're going to need to do if they want to make a run at a division, at a wild card, at just being in contention. They have to put 2, 3, 4 games in a row at some point soon, or else they're going to be completely out of it. And as Angel fans coming into this, season, you had high expectations, man. Before Trout got hurt, you might have had the number 1 and number 2 MVP guys in the American League, and you're struggling to at 3 or 4 games below 500. So again, that's just a frustrating part of what's going on with this team right now. So we move to Minnesota coming into town to make up those 2 games that they lost due to COVID. And if you remember that Friday game before they canceled or postponed the Saturday-Sunday game, Angels were rolling. That game was, a 8-1 or 9-1 blowout. They even brought in Astudillo to pitch. He's been in the news lately about his pitching, obviously, with ex-Angel front office, Tony La Russa. Won't get into that because, that can be a whole podcast by itself. But remember, doubleheaders now are 7 innings. When you get down early, you do not have a lot of time to get back. But luckily, Angels weren't down long, or weren't down at all this game. And with Phil Gosselin, who would have thought this guy would have been the offensive spark plug he has been? But he gets the scoring started with this.
So 1 away. Here's Gosselin batting.
Gosselin drives one left field. Toward the gap it goes. Toward the wall. The goose is loose. Goodbye.
So yes, the goose is loose. That seems to be the new thing online. That seems to be the new call. But again, another guy where if you can get some surprising production out of him, and it looks like he could play all over the place. In this morning game, this first game, you did not have Ohtani. You did not have Ward. So he was playing first, or you did have Ward. You didn't have Walsh. So he was playing first base, but you've seen him at second base. And you've seen him a little bit in the outfield too. So a guy that carries multiple gloves, that can play all over the place. But this brings up the Angels are up now 1-0. The Twins would end up getting a sac fly in the bottom of that inning. So now we're all tied up at 1. But in the second inning, that guy Phil comes up again.
Down, here's the 3-2.
Gosselin down off the end of the bat. Now tracking. Still tracking. It's off the wall. 1, 2, 3. Hello, score. Oh, the goose is loose.
And again, Phil Gosselin, production, base clearing double when the bases were loaded. So now it's 4-1 after the second inning. Alex Cobb would get the start for this game. He was on the IL, comes off the IL for this game to get the start. Looked great, looked awesome. He ended up going 5 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 4 Ks, pitch count at 57. Obviously, the reason why he was on the IL was the blisters issue. During this game, I don't know, they said at the end of it that Madden said that the blisters started coming back up again. I kind of lost that benefit of the doubt with Madden. I kind of feel like he wanted to take him out because I don't know, he wanted to get bullpen guys some work. I don't know, because he goes 5 innings, but in the 4th inning, he started someone in the bullpen already. I believe it was Cishek, I think, was warming up. He gets out of the 4th inning. So you're thinking, if it really is a blister issue, if the blister is coming back, why put him out for the 5th? They put him out in the 5th. Again, great inning, gets out of it. Very minimal pitches. His pitch count was great. He didn't have any long innings. He didn't have any high leverage really situations at all. But they take him out after 5 for the quote unquote blister. But I'm just thinking to myself, you're already ready to pull him out in the 4th. If it really was that blister issue, why bring him out in the 5th? Don't you want to nip it in the bud if it is that? And you know, he had give you 4 great innings. Again, you're playing 7, so you can go with your traditional 8 or 7, 8, 9 guys to get those last 3 innings. But they go for the 5th. He gets through the 5th. Bullpen closes it down, but the Angels still add on, especially with this guy, and he needs to kind of step up a little bit now that he's going to be getting more outfield time.
Here's the delivery, and this one is lifted high and deep out into left center field, and it is out of here. Taylor Ward, his 3rd home run of the season.
So yeah, Taylor Ward, home run, now brings it to 6-1. Again, 7th inning, so it just seems like they're just kind of piling on, which is great. You want to see his offensive production, especially against a team like the Twins, who are not good right now. I think they're last in the American League record-wise, and you got to take advantage of that. And Juan Lagares, again, the guy that's probably going to see most the increase in time now that Trout's injury comes up and adds on.
Toward the wall. Well struck off the base of the wall, and it kicks away from Reef Snyder. A run scores easily. It's 7-1 Angels. Juan Lagares, a frozen rope.
So again, 7-1 is the final score. 7 innings. Cishek came in, got the last 2 innings done. Very low leverage. So of course our bullpen does great when there's nothing really at stake. But it's a win nonetheless. They take about a 45, 50-minute break, come out for game 2. Griffin Canning on the mound. Again, kind of like I was talking about earlier with Andrew Heaney, another guy that has had a really good couple outings, but cannot seem to put, when it's bad, it's bad. When it's good, it's okay. But again, that first inning speed bump reared its head again with Griffin Canning. Starts the game out, fairly easy. Gets an out. Walks will kill you. Walks the second guy. Then he gives us a double. Then he gives us another walk. And with the bases loaded, Miguel Sano comes up. A guy that has been struggling, but you always know that power is there if you make a mistake. And that's exactly what Griffin Canning did. Gives up a grand slam in the first inning. Angels are down 4-0 before you can even really blink. And again, with a 7-inning game, a 4-run lead honestly feels more like a 6th or 7th run lead, just because of the fact that you don't have those extra 2 innings to claw back. But they go down 4-0. And honestly, if that inning's a little bit different, this game can look a ton different. But in the bottom of the first, Jose Rojas gets a 2nd home run of the year. Again, the Angels are scratching back, and that's something you like to see. But again, they're down 4-1. Ward doubles on a sharp line drive. Justin Upton scores. So now you see them even getting a little bit closer in the 2nd inning. So now they're down 4-2. Drew Butera on a line drive gets Taylor Ward, ends the score, and now it's 4-3. So now you're within 1, and you're at the end of 2. So that first inning is now huge, because without that grand slam, this is a whole different game. The Angels are in the lead, and maybe it plays out a little bit different as far as who is in at what point. Hunter Strickland does come in the 3rd because Canning cannot seem to find his control. Just did not look comfortable at all during the game. He goes 2 innings, gives up 3 hits, 4 runs, 4 walks. Again, a huge issue with this rotation, it seems at times, is the walks. To go 2 innings and give up 4 walks is something that is never good. I don't care at what level you're playing ball at. That is never good. But like I mentioned, Angels kind of work their way back, claw their way back to 4-3. And you're thinking, okay, they have a chance. They have a lot of time now with a 1-1 game after 2. You were thinking to yourself, okay, it seems like they're getting a little bit more momentum. They can come back. Mitch Garver gets a home run off of Hunter Strickland, newly acquired Hunter Strickland, who has seemed to be really struggling since coming to the Angels. And I don't know if that's Angels related or what, or just bad stretch. I don't know, still getting used to the West Coast time. I don't know what it is, but he has definitely not been yet what the Angels have been expecting or hoping from him when he came over from the Rays in that trade for a player to be named later or cash considerations. But it's still doable. You think about it, 2 runs, and we've seen it before, a bloop and a blast. Now you kind of do have your A team, I guess, if you want to call it that, offensively for this game. You have Ohtani back in the lineup. You have Walsh back in the lineup. And Walsh barely missed a home run. If you were watching this game, when it happened, I honestly thought it was a home run, because when the ball is headed right for that foul pole, you can't really tell if it's going to hit it or not, but you see the ball ricochet. So automatically in the back of your mind, you're thinking, all right, great. The ball ricocheted. That means they hit the pole, home run. Well, they look back at it. There's a wire running behind the foul pole that is holding up those nets that are behind or down the line. He hit that net. He hit that wire. That wire cannot be more than like 2-3 inches in diameter. That thing was kind of impressive just to hit that alone. I actually tweeted out saying they should just give him the home run just because of that. But it was foul. So again, that would have tied the game, I believe. Or no, that would have brought it up to 4-5. Didn't. They end up getting another home run late in the game in the top of the 5th off of Jose Suarez. Final score is 6-3. Again, not a great pitching outing by the Angels at all. Like I mentioned, you had Canning go 2 innings. You had Strickland go 1 inning. And between those 2 guys, they went 3 innings, gave up 5 runs in a 7-inning game. That is really, really hard. Jose Suarez looked good the first inning, gave up that home run in the second inning he was in, but he ended up pitching 2. He was that extra guy you get for double headers, that extra guy they got brought up. So with that, he's probably gonna be sent down after this game. Now that is kind of back to normal with Oakland coming into town. But again, kind of pretty disappointing now that the Twins are out. You would really hope to get 2 of those games against the Twins, both of them, but it just, again, bad pitching, inconsistent pitching. You would think with the Twins in town, struggling the way they were, you would hope that they would get both these games, but they're only able to split. Obviously with Oakland coming in town next, you have to worry about that. Oakland, obviously the top in the division. And as we stand right now, we look up the division standings. Angels are now 7 games back of first place Houston. Houston beating Oakland earlier today. But again, there's an old saying, it's getting late early, and that's exactly what's happening with the Angels. The lack of consistency has been hurting. The lack of consistency everywhere has been really hurting the team. Pitching looks great one day, looks terrible the next day. Offense can score 10 runs one game, but then struggles to get 2 runs off of 9 hits the next game. It's just the lack of consistency. It shows. And I people want to say, or on Instagram Live now too, Halo_Have, the lack of frontline pitching is showing at times, but you do have outings by Heaney. You have outings by Canning and Bundy that show these guys can really help this team, but it just doesn't seem to go back to back. It always seems like Heaney will have 2 good games, crap third. Bundy has 1 good game, and then is kind of now on a bad streak, and you're kind of hoping he's able to work his way out of it. And same thing with the offense. Now that Trout is out, you're definitely going to have to need some guys to step up offensively. And like I mentioned before, the good thing about the offense is that Ohtani is playing at a MVP level, not only pitching but batting, and so that's going to help out a lot, because last time Trout went out with a thumb injury, the Angels, I think, came out during that time. It was around the same kind of time frame where it was like 6 to 8 weeks. Angels were only like 3 or 4 games under 500 for that time. This time around, you have Rendon, you have Ohtani, you have Jared Walsh. If those 3 guys can produce and you can get some help from guys like Taylor Ward, to get help from guys like Justin Upton, offensively, it's not going to hurt as bad. Again, I truly believe where the Angels are going to miss Mike the most is going to be in the outfield. You're going to have a lot of guys playing outfield that don't normally play outfield. Right now, you have Upton and Ward and Lagares are probably your 3 main guys that are going to be in the outfield at all times. Lagares has played center field quite a bit, but you're looking at Lagares 32. And I understand they love to bring up the fact that Lagares won a Gold Glove. That was like in 2014. At what point do you stop saying like he's a Gold Glove caliber type of outfielder? He's okay. He's good. He's, I guess above average, but he's not going to make those kind of plays that you would think of a Gold Glover to make. That was forever ago. But some of the great stuff that we've been able to see right now is Phil Gosselin, the Goose. Again, he helps. Anything he adds on is extra. That's why I think this offense isn't going to really miss too much about Mike. They're going to miss him, yes, but for the same reason why Trout himself can't carry this team to the playoffs is the same reason why Trout's absence isn't going to devastate this team. It's all still going to come down to pitching. It's still going to come down to defense, and it's still going to come down to, Ohtani, Rendon, and Walsh now. Now it's Walsh's turn to be one of those top 3 guys now that Trout's out. But it's still going to come down to obviously pitching. And it sucks that a lot of these guys are having good games, but then are really struggling in the next game. And I think that's what is hurting this team more than anything else, is just the inconsistent pitching by guys like Griffin Canning, Andrew Heaney, Dylan. I mean, all of them. All the guys in the rotation have had inconsistencies at one point or the other, and they have looked great at one point or the other, but it just hasn't all clicked for like a full series. Like one series, Alex Cobb looks great, but then the rest of the 2 pitchers don't look great. And then the next series, Heaney looks great, but then the other pitchers don't. It's just they have not been able to all look good in one series, but they have shown, glimpses of it. And you look at some of the game logs, like I'm looking up, obviously Griffin Canning pitched today. Not the best, but the last time out, he goes 6 innings, gives up 2 earned runs. The time before that, he goes 5 2/3 against the Dodgers, only giving up 1 run. So it's there. The frustrating part for me is that it's not there consistently enough for this team to kind of get going. You know what I mean? It just seems like, you ever have a car where you just need it to kind of warm up to get it going, and then it's fine after that? It just seems like this car is running, and right when you feel like it's going to start warming up, it dies out on you. And that's exactly what it feels right now, is that this pitching staff can be right there. Like, obviously they're not going to be like the top pitching staff in baseball. I think would be crazy, but this pitching staff seems like they can be like a top 5 staff if people just are consistent. I mean, you look at, like I mentioned, you look at some of these starts by these guys and you're looking like, wow, that's a really good start against a really good team, but it's just not enough. And, Andrew Heaney, again, some of these guys are free agents at the end of this year. Andrew Heaney's one of them. Dylan Bundy's another one. So if you go and look at game logs for Andrew Heaney, again, Cleveland really got to him. The Astros really got to him. But after that, or before that, Tampa Bay, he looked great against Tampa Bay, and Tampa Bay is a really good team. He went 6 2/3, giving up 4 hits, no earned runs. It's just, and then you go back even further. Houston, he had a great Houston game, 6 1/3, giving up 1 run on 2 hits. Minnesota, the first time they played, 5 1/3, only 2 runs. I mean, there is points in this rotation where they look like they know what they're doing, and then there's times where it just feels like they don't. We're on here on Instagram Live. With Pujols gone, do we save money? No. The process with that is that he went through waivers. If a team would have claimed him while in waivers, they take that salary. But since he cleared waivers, he was able to sign for the minimum, which was prorated around $460,000. So you take that $460,000 off the 30-something million that the Angels owe, that's the money you save. So you save about $460,000 this year off the Pujols contract. Everything else the Angels are paying for. So Albert still won't be off the books until the end of this year, which kind of handcuffs the Angels a little bit right now, but you're not going to sign, that money doesn't do you any good right now in the middle of the season, unless you're looking to extend certain guys, but I don't think that works out at all. Do you think we bring up Adell or Marsh? Adell will definitely be up at some point. Again, I think he'll be up sometime in June. I'm thinking like mid-June, early July, especially if he keeps on rolling the way he has. He's been doing really good out there in Salt Lake, but I still think Marsh is a late season ad or even next year ad. But Adell, I definitely feel you will see him at some point this year. Why are you complaining about our pitching staff? It is what it is. This is what you get with 3, 4, 5 pitchers. No, they are 3, 4s, and 5s, but to me, it's frustrating because you look at Andrew Heaney, a 6-inning, 3-hit shutout performance against a Toronto team that has bats. And you look at, again, a Tampa Bay team that is good. He goes 6 2/3, 4 hits. These guys can do it, but I just don't understand. I guess my biggest thing with a lot of these guys, again, the Andrew Heaneys, the Griffin Cannings, the Dylan Bundys, even at some point Shohei Ohtani too, is why can't they do it consistently? It's there. I just don't know why it takes so long for it to click for them. And it happens and it just kind of goes away, and then you have to hope to find it again. And not only that, it just seems like too, the bullpen, I mentioned it earlier, good bullpen, bad bullpen. They're all the same guys, but it just seems like they're the same thing. They're just not consistent. And you talk about a pitcher that they got brought in to kind of help that bullpen, Hunter Strickland, has not had the best success with the Angels since coming over. And I don't know, again, if there's something going on there or what, but we'll see what happens. But Hunter Strickland needs to kind of help that bullpen out. There's a reason why they brought him in, but he's been struggling the last couple of days too. I mean, only going to third a couple times against Cleveland. Obviously today gives up a home run. Hasn't had a great, outings with the Angels yet. I mean, he's pitched 2 1/3, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. It just hasn't been working so far for him. No more Noe. Nope. They DFA'd him and he elected to go to try free agency instead of going to the Bees. So he's out there in free agency. Angels couldn't get a hit after the second inning in the second game. Yeah, again, a team that struggles like the Twins, you hope you're able to win those 2 games because that's exactly what you need. That's exactly what would help build this team's momentum a little bit now that you have Oakland coming into town, and Oakland again only a half game out of the first place in the division. So we'll have to kind of hope that they're able to put something together with that. Quintana takes the mound Friday night. As of right now, they have not officially announced, at least not that I've seen, officially announced the Saturday, Sunday starters. Dylan Peters is up, has yet to be brought into a game, so we'll see how that plays out. Again, I think he might be just kind of a depth play. And don't forget, too, Chris Rodriguez is started throwing maybe 2 days ago. He's working his way back from the IL. You just hope when they are able to start getting these guys back, it's not too late. There was an article or someone said something on Twitter where when Trout comes back in 6 to 8 weeks, this team's going to be in 1 of 2 places. Ready to make a run with Trout there, or they're going to be selling. I don't think you can sit in this middle zone this year with a lot of these guys coming off the books, like Heaney, like Bundy. I mean, the only guys you're really committed to at the end of this year are Ohtani, Trout, Rendon, Fletcher. So I mean, I don't know. I'm right now looking at if they're out of it, Bundy might get you something back Heaney might get you something back. Granted, they're not going to be world beaters, whatever you get back, but you might be able to get a couple good, not long shots, but guys that can help this team down the line, because I honestly don't think the Angels are going to sign Bundy at the end of this year. So if it's not working, I can see them trading Bundy at some point. Ty Detmers, I think you mean Reed Detmers. No, Detmers I think is still kind of young, still really young in the process. I don't think we'll see him this year unless, again, the injury bug seems to be rampant, but I don't think you see Detmers at all this year. I think next year, definitely he's competing for a spot. And that's, someone asked me one time on Instagram what this team needs to do pitching wise. It's great to go out there and sign these big name starters, but you have to hope it works. And if it doesn't work, you kind of hurt yourself with the money you're going to owe these guys. The best bet for the Angels right now, moving forward with the pitching staff, is that you really have to hope Chris Rodriguez and Reed Detmers hit good. Like, they come in and they perform like a lot of people think they are, and they can be at top of your lineup. Now, Suarez, he did okay today, but I didn't realize that he's still like 23 years old. He is super young. And then you have a 25-year-old Griffin Canning. Some of these guys that we have a lot of questions about, Canning, Suarez, Barrea, all these guys are all like super young. And it's just, I think they get brought up so fast now that I think we lose track of that. Canning is 25 years old. Jose Suarez, like I mentioned, 23 years old. Patrick Sandoval, 24 years old. So I understand the frustration. I really do. But Jaime Barrea, 24 years old. But when I look at these guys' age and these guys who were asking to really perform, Chris Rodriguez, 22 years old. Like, some of these guys are just like babies in their development. And it just does not, I don't know. It's just, these guys can develop. And when they're like 25, 26 years old, this can be a whole different kind of pitching staff if you hold on to them. Again, 23 years old, 25 years old. This rotation is young, and I think a lot of people have it in their mind that, they've been up in the majors for the last 2 years. They should be developed. They came up when they're 21, 22. This is a really young rotation when you get past Andrew Heaney and Dylan Bundy. It is. And I think, to me, as an Angel fan, it's kind of hard for me to sit here and blame these guys that are, like I mentioned, early 20s for not performing in the majors, when a lot of your top pitchers don't really hit their prime until they're 27, 28, 29, somewhere around there. I mean, Bauer just got that huge contract, and he just kind of seemed to reach his prime last year when he was like, 29, 30? These guys aren't even close to that. Do you see the Angels trading for at all to trade them? They're going to trade at the deadline. I just don't know if they're going to be buyers or sellers. Obviously, if they're kind of where they're at now and they just keep on falling, then yeah, they're going to be sellers. Like I mentioned, Andrew Heaney and Dylan Bundy are both contract years. If they're kind of doing good and they're kind of get on a roll, but their team's still losing, you can see one, if not both, those guys get traded. And it's going to be really interesting to see how that works out. Don't trade those guys like we traded Mike Clevinger. Clevinger is kind of a weird situation, though, because a lot of people love to bring that Clevinger up because of the trade. But if you look at his numbers with the Angels, they weren't anything special. It wasn't like he was out here mowing guys down and he was in Double-A with, a 2.3 ERA. He wasn't that guy. He didn't become that guy because they traded him. And then he ended up, again, maturing in Cleveland. And I'm sure Cleveland has something to do with it because they seem to be pulling, making starters left and right over there. But Clevinger is the same exact way a lot of these young guys are. He just wasn't mature yet. And you look at someone like DeGrom, again, I don't think any of these guys are going to be DeGrom, hopefully, but obviously that's a super long shot. DeGrom was a late bloomer too. Look at his numbers. He didn't start becoming that guy until like 26, 27. So to sit here and say our staff is crap, like, yeah, they're playing that crap right now. I'm not going to sit here and say they're not, but 24 years old, 25 years old, 23 years old, 22 years old. I mean, these guys are so young. Chris Rodriguez is good. The others, well, I don't know. And that's the thing too. Matt on Instagram, we don't know, but are you willing to trade a guy that is 23 years old and you might have a projection of how he can be? And then he becomes Mike Clevenger again? I don't know. But again, look at the age of these guys. Go and look at these guys that are kind of those in between where you see them get brought up and then sent back down. They get brought up and sent back down. They're all in their early 20s. And I'm not saying they're going to come out here and light this world on fire, but you look at any good rotation in baseball, you can see that there's probably 3 or 4 guys in that depth, of the rotation that are homegrown guys that you don't spend a lot of money on because they come up through the lineup or through the system. And I think that's exactly what the Angels need to do is let these 23 and 24-year-olds develop. And yeah, it doesn't work with your guys' time frame because you're fans, and I understand you guys want to win right away. But guess what? You can't rush shit like that. I mean, granted, you want Bundy to perform, you want Haney to perform because they are right there around 30. But these younger guys that are going to be the foundation of this rotation in 2-3 years, they're still 23, 24 years old, and that's still super young. Can we stretch out Rodriguez to be a starter? I think that's the plan for this year. I don't think he starts this year, but I think you're seeing it when he does get in. He's not doing it for an inning. He's not doing it for 2 or he might be doing it for 2 innings, but a lot of times you're seeing 2 1/3, 2 2 2/3, 3 innings. I think that's the idea, to get his innings up through the bullpen in that situation, because you look at his career innings before he got brought with the Angels, I think it was like 17 career innings before he hit major leagues. That's not a lot of professional innings. So this year, I believe, and everyone I've talked to, is that they're going to stretch him out through the bullpen. Next year, he'll be a serious contender for a starting spot. I don't doubt that at all. He got brought up as a starter. He got drafted as a starter. He will be in that rotation at some point. But this year, you're going to have to let him kind of stretch out a little bit because, like I mentioned, before he got brought up with the Angels, he was in the minor league, suffered a couple big injuries. So his numbers, his innings are super limited, 17-ish innings. You have to let that guy kind of develop and kind of stretch out. And that's kind of why I think you see them taking their time with him right now, coming off the IL. Hopefully he comes back in the middle of next week. I'm not necessarily sold that him being back during Oakland, seeing that he just started throwing maybe a couple days ago. You have a good point. Yes, they are all in their early 20s, but they are out there pitching like they are in their mid 30s. And that's, what? That's a good point. But I think the difference is the guy in the mid 30s, there's probably not a whole lot of upside. A guy in his early 20s pitching like that can learn some things, and you can think of, he can progress. I think, it's the way of life. It's kind of like that, like a graph, like you're here, you're up, and then you're back down to kind of where you started. Hopefully they're going to start working their way up. Is there any arms to buy for the rest of the season? I don't think so. Not any arms where you're going to be like, yeah, that guy's a difference maker. Yeah, that guy is the missing piece. There are probably arms out there for like depth. Like, okay, cool. If someone goes down, we can add this guy and we probably won't miss too much, but he's going to have his up and down games. I'm pretty sure there's not a single guy out there where you can buy where you look at him and be like, yeah, he's going to be our lockdown closer, or yeah, he's going to be our frontline starter. There's not those guys out right now. Perry, should he be looking forward to next season? I think Perry's fine for next season. I'm kind of interested to see what Madden does for next season. Truthfully, I mean, you look at it, Madden's already kind of made some weird decisions with bullpen management, and that's something that's been following him around since Chicago. He's older, does he want it? I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's just kind of going through the motions, but I mean, I don't see the quote unquote mad scientist, mad genius Joe Madden that everyone thought was coming over. And 2, Perry got brought in after Joe. What if Perry doesn't like what Joe's doing because he doesn't fit Perry's vision? You're already seeing that Perry went to Artie, got rid of Pujols. I know he hit a home run today, and a lot of people are freaking out about that, which is cool. He can't hit home runs still. I'm just worried about the other stuff he doesn't do. Perry's already got Artie to release Albert, and he loved Albert. Now can Perry go to Artie and talk about Joe and talk about, hey, I have a manager in mind that fits my idea of what he wants a manager. I don't know, but Joe is probably, again, if this all turns around and they get on a huge streak and, for some reason now they're 2 or 3 games out of the first place of the division going into last month, that changes everything. But the way this team is going right now, I would definitely say Joe's more likely on the hot seat than Perry. Perry just got brought in. Joe, who knows? No, I meant Perry should be thinking about moves for. Oh yeah, but yes, Joe has made some questionable decisions. Yeah, I mean, I think Perry. I think that I've often said a GM of a baseball team, GM of football team, GM of any sports team has to be one of the hardest jobs out there because you want to win. Your owner demands to win now, but you got to remember you cannot sell the future to win now because guess what? Down the line, it's great that that you won, but if you win and you don't do anything after that, that win will only last so long. So as a GM, you got to win now, but also set yourself up for the future. And I think Perry is doing that. And I think that's why you saw a lot of 1-year contracts. He sees a lot of money coming off the books and he can try to really make a serious splash next offseason with so much money coming off the books. And I think he didn't want to tie himself down to some of these players that were free agents this offseason without this vision that he probably has. Again, he came in and now it's kind of, you start a job. Then there was a guy that already kind of started the job and you kind of have to fix up his mess before you can really start doing your vision. And I think that's what Perry's trying to do. He's trying to organize stuff to where his full vision will come to fruition maybe next season or the season after that. I'm so stoked on Ohtani, proud Halo stuff. Yeah, Ohtani, I mean, Ohtani's going to be, if this team hangs around while Mike is out, it's going to be because of Ohtani. It's going to be because of Ohtani, number 1, and it's going to be because of Rendon, number 2, because those 2 guys can carry that offensive load for Mike while he's out. And the way Ohtani's playing right now, he is, he's crushed. He is the MVP of the American League right now. And if this sport was like football and basketball, where there's one singular MVP, he's that guy. I knew what you meant. Hopefully Perry goes after guys like Scherzer, Strasburg, etc. during the next offseason. Scherzer, Strasburg, again, not Strasburg, Syndergaard. Scherzer and Syndergaard next offseason. That's great. Those are names, proven names, older names. You get Scherzer, what's that going to cost you? 4, 5 years? He ain't going to be cheap. And then, okay, you get that 1 good year off of him, maybe 2 years off of him. And then when does Father Time take over? That 3rd, 4th, 5th year, now you're kind of stuck. Syndergaard, same thing. Syndergaard, Tommy, he hasn't pitched yet. He's going to come back in the middle of the season off of Tommy John surgery, and who knows what the hell he's going to look like after that. If he bounces back, great. If he doesn't, are you going to spend that money to find out? I mean, that's the hardest part about signing these guys at free agency is that, do they look good? Have they been great in the past? Absolutely. They've been shut down, frontline starters for their whole career. But that career has been pretty long, and that's why they're so good. It's because their career has been 7, 8, 9 years long. Now you're going to try to sign them for what they did, their 10th, 11th, 12th year. Eventually, that's exactly what happened with Albert. He left the Cardinals kind of on a decline, but he's Albert Pujols. Look what he can do. They signed him to a long contract. You get maybe 1.5 good years out of him, and now you're paying the rest for him to be a league average player. And that's my biggest worry. Yeah, Scherzer is 37 years old. So what, you're going to sign him to a 1-year deal? Is he going to take that? I don't think he will. If he does, great, then do it. I'm looking at it from the player's perspective, like, no, I need one more payday. Let's try to go out and make big money. And are you going to be stuck with that? That's the biggest thing. I don't think there's no sugarcoating that the Angels suck. I think there shouldn't be any more excuses. I mean, I'm not trying to make excuses. When I bring up the age, those are facts of the pitchers that you're depending on. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. There's still a lot of time to go. Again, we're in late May. Still got all of summer. maybe if they pull together a 5-6 win streak at some point, I don't know if that ever will happen, but if they do, maybe they can flip things around. Who knows? But we'll have to see. And if that not, then yeah, you start moving Bundy. Yeah, you start moving Canning. Yeah, Evan Heaney, and see if you can get some prospects in return and see if those guys hit. But that's pretty much going to wrap it up for this edition of the All Angels podcast. I will be out of the game Friday night. Oakland, Jose Quintana on the mound. Again, they have not yet announced officially, I believe, who the Angels are going to pitch Saturday and Sunday. Heard that Albert hit a home run for the Dodgers in tonight's game. Yeah, he did. Some people were mentioning that in the chat. But so we got 3 against Oakland. We'll be back Sunday night. I'll be at the game Friday, and if anyone is in Vegas Saturday night, I will be at the Bees Las Vegas Aviators games to see some of the younger guys, Joe, Brandon. I'm sure Schwartz will be there. He probably won't pitch. Barea is with the Angels, but we'll see what happens. But I will be at that AAA game in Vegas. If anyone's listening and they're in Vegas that Saturday night at the game, let me know. Otherwise, again, I'll be at the game Friday night in Anaheim. Looking forward to this baseball weekend. So we'll be back Sunday night to go over, obviously, the Oakland series. If you have any questions, you can always email us at allangelspodcast@gmail.com or slide into our DMs at Halo_Haven, both on Twitter and on Instagram. We'll get to them. We'll get back to them as much as we can. But yeah, hopefully they're able to win a series. I know that sounds super repetitive, and we've been saying that forever, it seems like, but they're going to have to really bring it together for the 3-game series out in Oakland, or back here against Oakland. But we'll see what happens. So until next time, I am Dan Garcia, and you've listened to another edition of the All Angels podcast.